and
Okay,
Chrissy
so
will
I'll be
observe.
on mute.
Uh,
Yes.
Sorry.
I'll set a timer again. Was that okay, just messaging people, letting them know when the 15 minutes was coming up? Did you see that all right?
Yeah, that was fine.
Cool. Okay. Okay, ready when you are, Tony?
All right. Jill, are you ready?
I am, thank you.
Okay. All right, let's go.
Great. Well, thank you so much for having me here.
Hi, Julie. Jill, sorry. It's Jill, right?
It is. Thank
All
you.
right. My name is Tony Smart. Thank you for attending the interview scheduled for today.
No, thank you for having me, Tony. It's so nice to meet you.
Pleasure. I'm the team HR manager, and this is my colleague, Christy Prime.
Hi.
She is the senior HR administrator. And so my colleague will be sitting in this interview today as an observer, and we make some notes as we go along.
Great.
All right. So how are you today?
I'm well, thank you. How about yourself?
We're doing all right, and hoping that you can come on board to join us.
Yeah, me too.
All right. Just a few housekeeping information before we get started. This is the exit should the alarm go off, but as I'm not aware of any alarm test today, so we should be fine, but you never know, with those things. The restroom is that way, and please feel free at some point if you want to use the restroom, and if you need water, let me know. So if you're ready, we shall start. As I said earlier, I will ask you a few questions, and my colleague will be observing, and we make some notes. Please don't be distracted by that. And if you are not clear about any questions at all, let me know and I will go through it again. Is that okay with you?
But yeah, that sounds great. Thank you.
All right. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I have been in HR for a couple of years now. Started off in learning and development and then moved more into general HR. And one of the things I find having made that transfer is that I really am bringing a strong user experience with me into HR format. So I'm thinking about how the policies and processes affect their employee experience in the workplace, and looking at how we build engagement, which I think is such an important part of what we do in HR, and especially with the Welsh Rugby Union. They're so connected in with their community, and I want to help replicate that aspect of things in the employee experience.
Great. That sounds very good. That's a solid CV there.
Thank you. I've tried.
All right. My question then is, what do you know about this organization that you want to join?
Well, the Welsh Rugby Union, I know, is such a strong piece of the rugby union community. I love how well you commit back into some of the young children programs and bringing them up out of low socioeconomic areas. I've always seen that the Welsh Rugby Union and Millennium Stadium really hold true to their values of strength and community. And for me, that is such a huge part of what I see as my own values. That's the thing that's really attracting me into the business. And I kind of like rugby.
All right. Wow, okay. We are flattered by that. All right. My next question will be, what attracted you to this job advertisement in particular?
Oh, great question. I think the thing that's really interesting for me about the role is that it is coming in on the ground level on the policy creation. And I genuinely think that putting in great structure for policy allows the business to focus a lot of their creativity and their and all the energy in the right places. So for me, being able to be part of that policy implementation and building in the induction and how we bring people into the business is the stuff that really makes me excited.
Okay, so yeah, I think you touched a little bit about what attracted you. So the skills you have already.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you intend to bring it into this organization, and what knowledge in particular do you think you possess that will make you stand out among the other applicants?
Okay. I think, as I mentioned with my career, going from learning and development into HR brings a really unique perspective, and as opposed to coming from a generalist HR background initially. And I know one of the things from the job description I saw online is talking about how to coordinate with the training functions and how to look at internships and helping build the induction program. And those are areas that I really shine, and my background comes right into the forefront of things. So I believe that I'll bring an expertise in that area, plus an excitement around the policy aspect that's in there. And I have worked with quite a lot of employees in my previous roles in a sales company around performance. And I noted that employee performance is something that was important on the job description.
Okay. What would you add in the area of employee performance that you just mentioned if you are absorbed into the system?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, for me, the very first thing would be that I would want to have a look at what the processes and systems that you already have in place. I don't believe in coming in and just trying to make things be done my way when you may have a system that's working well for you that can just be added to with what I bring to the table. So that's my first step, is observing and looking at that. And speaking with the people on the front line and finding out more about what it is that they see as part of their development opportunities and where they see performance opportunity. And once I've gathered all that intel, I would want to work with you as my manager to talk about how we can make the performance system more robust.
Good. So having said that, what would you consider to be your strongest ability coming into this company if you are taking it?
I think initially at the start, my curiosity for learning is the thing that will make my transition the easiest, as I spend a lot of time really taking in every aspect of the business and learning that. But once I've started gathering all of that information, you'll be able to see how I can organize myself, and that I pride myself on getting those outputs that you need to run your department ready. So I think there'll be some hard work and tenacity you'll start seeing coming through once I get my feet in the ground there.
Okay, all right, we appreciate that. And as you know, no current flows effectively if the positive and the negative do not collide. Mm-hmm. And so you talked about your strengths. Tell us about what you would say are your weaknesses as well.
Oof, that's a mean one. So I think for me, like most people, I try to be aware of my weaknesses and I try to work on them. I think that probably one of my areas of weakness that I have to be mindful of, especially in a new environment, is I really can focus very heavily in on the task aspect. And I think that building the relationships at the start will be really important. So that's one of my weaknesses that I'll be watching, is making sure that I don't go too heavy task related, and I make sure that I make the connections with the people that are needed.
Okay. And as you know, the position in question requires you getting along from the word go with people around. So yeah, that aspect of interaction and getting yourself quickly familiar with people and environment is key, to any HR position. Do you agree with me on that?
Absolutely, I do. I have watched people come into positions before where they impact the whole businesses, and they haven't taken the time to build the relationships that were necessary, and everything became so much harder. So it's a real point of note for me that I believe strongly in the importance of those relationships, and I have to seek them at the start.
Okay. So, like I said, I promised you that it was going to be a very quick and straightforward interview. Before we wrap up, I'd like to ask you if you have any questions for us.
Yeah, absolutely. What's the things that you enjoy most about working with the Rugby Union and the Millennium Stadium?
Okay. Like I said, the position requires a lot of interaction and getting along with team members as much as possible, because the HR, department is more like the public relation department of the company, more or less, and the image you portray to your team members, who are the actual picture and mirror of the company outside, is key to how people look at the company. And so we have a lot of focus on building the human resource aspect of this company, the way we interact with team members, the way we interact with the public, those that we provide services to, those that provide services to us. Our relationship is very, very, very key to what we are trying to build, where we want this company to be in the next 10 years, in the next 50 years. And so when you come in, if you are considered, one thing that we want to see rolling and rolling very fast is your robust way of carrying the company. When I mean the company, workers, in the company along with the goal and vision of the company, and being able to portray the company in a very positive light, to the public. And so that's one thing we want you to have at the back of your mind if and when you are considered for this position.
Great, thank you. That sounds really exciting. I love the way that HR is playing such a prominent role in the employee journey. That's something that's really important to me. And from what I'm hearing from you, it's really connected to the partners of the business, and it's being quite strategic. And for me, that's something that I really want to be part of. So thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, so we appreciate, you'll be hearing from us before the end of the week.
Great.
We got to end it here. We'll have a couple of people to also interview, before we make our final selection. So we appreciate your time for coming, and we appreciate all that you have said. We've taken note of them, and they will guide us when we make our final decision. And like I said, you will hear from us before the end of the week.
Great. Thanks so much for your time. Have a great afternoon.
It's been a pleasure. You have the rest of the day well.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Oh, okay.
All right.
So it's so weird, isn't it? It's like, oh. I'm not a rugby fan.
So it's your turn now. You and Christy, right? So
yeah, it is.
I just sit by and watch.
Yeah, you get to watch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close and resend another link, so then we don't have to try and splice the video. It's just all three separate ones.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So we'll close this down.
Yeah, I'll send you another link in just a sec.
Okay.